quick, I saw Incredibles 2 yesterday. Day before. So, I saw Incredibles 2. I want to do a really quick review on it. It's, the problem is I don't have a lot to say about it. It's, briefly, a good movie, but it should have been better. And that's where this kind of leads into. The thing about The Incredibles 2, it's a fine movie. I mean, compared to anything else out there that's kind of geared towards children, but for all ages, it's fine. I seem to be saying that a lot about movies lately. It was fine. And it was. There's nothing that really offended me. Nothing's like, oh, this was done very poorly. A lot of the dialogue was fine. There are a few parts where it was a little smarmy or kind of meh. Like, that was a little goofy, but otherwise, it was very well constructed. Perfectly fine. It was entertaining, decently exciting, and thus we get into the problem with it. It's like, I want to just start shitting on this movie that I think was perfectly fine. This movie was perfectly fine, but here's a whole bunch of problems. One, this is a Pixar film. Pixar does not make fine movies. It makes amazing movies that change the genre, that change filmmaking a little bit in some cases. An okay film for them is kind of a failure because the bar for them is just so high at this point. Problem number 2 is that this movie took 14 years to make. I mean, for 14 years, I'd expect something more than this. It's like this could have come out 2-3 years after Incredibles, the first film, and it would have been like, they were just rushed a sequel out. It feels like a rushed sequel. It's fine. It's not amazing. I'd recommend seeing it, actually. If you liked Incredibles, it's not as good as Incredibles, but then what are the odds that a sequel is not going to be as good as the original? Partially because the original was such a surprise. It was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. And the sequel, the whole point is, you have seen something like this, the first film. Other than that, one, and this is a nitpick, it really is, but the two main actors, Holly Hunter and Craig, what's his face? The guy who used to be the coach from the TV show The Coach. Their voices have not aged well. It's a little hard to buy that they're 14 years younger than they are. And this film totally takes up at the exact second the last one left off. Like, literally in the parking lot. I assume they got new actors for the two kids. Maybe they should have for the two leads, I don't know. Or come out with this film way earlier. Either way, Incredibles 2. As far as construction, the movies, it has the Incredibles thing, which might even be the Pixar thing of, here's a whole bunch of little elements that are like, here's a little conflict. Oh, I mean, as you saw from the commercial. This is spoiler-free, but whatever. From the commercial, it's, oh, Holly Hunter's character, Elastigirl, is going to be like the main character that everyone focuses on, that kind of puts Mr. Incredible or whatever kind of in the background. And he has to deal with that, and being not like the first tier, and being a good dad, which he's a good stay-at-home dad, which he's not good at, and little bitty conflicts of little things going on. It plays out like a whole bunch of Pixar skits. Incidentally, this movie starts with a Pixar skit, one about a steamed dumpling that comes to life. Weird aside, when we were waiting to see this film, we saw in the previews, there were previews, but there were other things too, like see this amazing thing, other stuff too. 2 of the things we saw were advertisements for Incredibles 2. I mean, one was flat out an advertisement for it, which struck me as odd, because I'm already sitting here waiting to see the thing. You don't need to sell it anymore, which makes me suspicious as to its quality. And 2, the other thing was this feature, like, oh, it's so amazing to be doing Incredibles 2. Here's an interview with all the actors. And it's like, once again, you don't put away the grease gun, son. I'm already here. My ass is in the seat. I've already paid for my ticket. It gave me this odd feeling of, hey, like when you get a present from someone and while you're unwrapping it, they have to like kind of sell it to you, like kind of talk it up. It's like, oh, this is going to be like kind of a shitty present. Or they think I'm going to think it's a shitty present. And it's like, I think like this is an okay movie, but maybe the studio or someone involved kind of knew it wasn't what it needed to be. It needed to be more groundbreaking or epic or something to really nail this home. And it wasn't. It was a fine film, but the little story construction is very standard for a Pixar film. It's like Incredibles. It's like a lot of Pixar films where it's constructed more like here's a tiny animated feature and a number of them strung together, and it's not done as well as I've seen in other Pixar films. Toy Story, any of the Toy Story movies. And it's okay. The main story, the arc that kind of folds everything together was pretty predictable. I mean, it was a good effort, and I think the execution was okay. It was fine. You're going to hear me say that an awful lot. It was fine. This part was fine. But nothing blew me away. And it's a Pixar film. I'm used to being blown away by Pixar films or surprised or something that really didn't have anything like that. It had a lot of cliches, which tend to turn me off a lot. But I'm like, meh. And this took 14 years to make. It took 14 years for them to come out with this. I don't think it was, we have this brilliant vision that at long last, I mean, that was, from what I understand, that was kind of the impetus for not making this earlier. It was like, we didn't really have a good vision or a good story that needed to be told. We're going to hold off until we do, or maybe we never will, so maybe there'll never be a sequel. I think the studio wanted another feature, and I think the writer-director needed money, maybe. Either way, I don't know. Anyway, as far as my reviews go, what are the odds you'll see it and not like it? I think quite low. It's not a spectacular film, but it doesn't really have any problems. It's not bad. So the odds that you'll actually actively go, I shouldn't have seen this, I think are very, very low. Oh, let's say 1 in 5, the odds that you'll see it and not like it. I think if you have 5 people go to a movie together, one of them will be like, this really was so below my expectations. I think that's the only complaint someone would have about this film, is that they were expecting more from it. And they should have. Like I said, this is a Pixar film. Pixar used to be the Marvel Universe, the MCU of movie studios. It was like Pixar films were just, there's a Pixar film coming out. What's it about? Who knows? Who cares? It's a Pixar film. It'll be awesome. Pixar. Now they're not like that anymore. So, well, or at least not with this one. Like I said, it's okay. Do I want to see this film again? No, I really don't. It's like I've seen it. It's for a film I'd want to go see again. And there are lots of films out there, even ones I didn't think they're that great, that I'd want to see again just because there's so much going on, or there's so much happening, or maybe I missed something, or maybe I was in the bathroom during some scene, because I had to run out because I see movies early and I drink a ton of coffee. Something like that, so I'd want to see them again. Lots of films I want to see again. Some I'd want to wait for them to come out on video on demand. Some, like, I want to see right away, and so on. This one I just don't. It's like I've seen all it has to offer. It didn't have that many surprises. It wasn't so action-packed that I think I missed something. The story was perfectly serviceable. There's nothing to write home about, but it was fine. It's going to be my review for this. Incredibles 2, it's fine. It's just fine. It's not as good as Solo. How about that? What else? That's it. It's really, there's not much to this. Go see this film. It's pretty okay. They should pay me for their advertising. Um, that's it. It's a fine movie. I have no complaints about it. That's it.